But headlining this hour, John, the increasingly blurry line between military tension and war in the Ukraine. Russian troops have stormed Ukrainian naval headquarters in Crimea. The troops, backed by unarmed volunteers, raised the Russian flag at that naval headquarters. The seizure comes as American officials, including Secretary of State John Kerry, condemned Russia's move to annex Crimea. And Western allies scheduled an emergency meeting in the Netherlands to figure out what to do, how to sanction or punish Russian President Vladimir Putin for taking the peninsula and to stop him from expanding his reach further.
The president has made it clear that if there is this move to the full annexation, which appears to be clearly the direction that they have decided to move, it will be unfortunate. And it will not be because we want to create some kind of confrontation, but because there is no choice but to enforce the standards that the international community has worked on for so long.
Secretary Kerry said Putin's move was an enormous challenge to the global community, one he said that would require a response equal to the level of Putin's challenge. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney said the move was illegal.
Such action is a threat to international peace and security, and it is against international law. We would not recognize this attempted annexation.
So far, sanctions and visa bans by the U.S. and the EU have not stopped Putin. And joining us now to discuss the situation in the Ukraine, retired Army General Paul Vallely. General Vallely, we appreciate your time, and Paul, we welcome you to America's Forum.
Thank you, JD, and happy to be back with you again. We did so many shows in the past, I can't even remember how many, but it's always been a pleasure to do a show with you.
Well, Paul, it is great to have you at this new internet broadcast address, and let's begin with what transpired yesterday. A Ukrainian serviceman reportedly killed. Today, the Russians seize a naval base. Paul, has this officially turned into a shooting war?
Well, it's escalating into that, JD, and it's going according to Putin's plan for the annexation of Crimea. Putin is very focused. He knows what he wants to accomplish for Russia. And so when you understand that, I'll give you a good example, Jay. I was with General Sisi last November in Egypt, met with him for over 2 hours. I think I met with him longer than any other foreign leader has. But he said, you know, America, you do not look through other people's eyes. You always look through your own eyes. And so when I reflect back to Putin, remember George Bush, I looked into his eyes, and here's a man I could trust. But George Bush didn't get into his brain. And that's what General Sisi was saying. You've got to look through the world for, in our situation, and what we're looking at. And if you understand that and what Putin's up to, and what his goals are, then you'll firmly understand why he's being very aggressive to annex Crimea.
And let's just talk more about Putin, the former KGB apparatchik. Is there anything that is going to stop him from seizing territory not only in Crimea, not only in the Ukraine, but elsewhere in what we used to call the Soviet sphere of influence back during our Cold War days?
Yeah, I think if you look back at the Soviet Federation and USSR, I don't think he's going to try to go back to that, because economically that was very costly, all that sphere of influence that he had that was connected and controlled by Russia at that time. I think this time it's going to be much like a chessboard of how he's going to annex, like he did down in Georgia, certain areas that are close and boundaried with Russia, such as Crimea. So I think he'll pause now and continue to firm up his support and strength and control in Crimea before he even attempts to do anything in the greater Ukraine. He's a very smart man. He's a major chess player. He plays hardball against what we call soft power, which is what Kerry and the Obama administration and the Europeans are trying to do. And you can't, when somebody's playing hardball and hard power, soft power does not affect them. That's why sanctions won't work, hasn't worked with the Iranians.
Paul,
but the question is, then what do you do?
Paul, in the old days, we also spoke about strategic ambiguity, where there was the possibility of some sort of military action or some sort of response that would not be limited to economics. With the current administration, it seems that strategic ambiguity is out the window, that it's been made very clear that apart from words, not much else is going to happen. Or is there a threat that something else could happen, that the Obama administration might choose to take an action as this thing continues to unfold, some sort of military action in the days ahead?
No, I don't think Obama administration or national security team will do that. They're believers in soft power, which we know won't work against hard power again. The Russians and the rest of the world know that we have very weak leadership in the United States. They know there's, other than Angela Merkel in Germany, there's weak leadership in Europe. And they know that we are a nation of words now, a nation of rhetoric, empty suit rhetoric. So we say, well, we'll take serious action. If they cross a certain red line like you did in Syria, nothing ever happens. We have the weakest, most incompetent national security team we've ever had in America. And the rest of the world knows that. So Putin will continue to do what he wants to do, and he'll get away with it. We won't go to war with him, I don't think, at all. Number one, when, J.D., we've talked before, we can't go to war unless it's a direct threat against the United States and by our Constitution. And Ukraine is and even that situation, no threat against the United States. On the second hand, there, when you look at allies and treaties and so on, people like Putin, Rouhani in Tehran, North Korea people, they don't care about treaties and associations. They will rule right over those things.
Paul, we'll have to leave it right there. Retired Army Major General Paul Vallely with his perspective on what is transpiring now in the Ukraine. It's great to hear from you, Paul.
Certainly, in a situation we'll keep watching here on the show on America's Forum today. When we come right back, will the Republican Party's new ads bring younger voters into the tent? Plus, will the GOP's push to restructure the way it runs campaigns translate into more wins at the ballot box? We'll talk with former President George W. Bush's press secretary and get his take right after this break. Plus, we want you to weigh in on the conversation. You can reach us on social media, on Twitter at NewsmaxTV, hashtag America's Forum. You can find us on email, connect@newsmaxtv.com, or on Facebook, facebook.com/NewsmaxTV. We'll be right back after this.